Cleveland Browns firing head coach Kevin Stefanski makes it impossible to ignore how differently he treated Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel, and the data proves it. Let's start with opportunity, because opportunity isn't just pass attempts, but it's when you're allowed to throw. These bars shows who the Browns trusted to throw early while the game was still in neutral and after successful plays. Dillon Gabriel was consistently allowed to throw early and in rhythm. Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, was asked to throw after things broke down. And that difference shapes everything: play calling, confidence, and who stays on the field in defining moments. Now look at down and distance. Gabriel throws far more often on first down, when defenses still have to respect the run and the entire playbook. Yet Sanders throws far more often on third and long, when defenses already know what's coming. So that's not the same job. This uneven context is further compounded by Sanders being benched in a one-score high-leverage situation. That tells you how short the leash really was for him. Now let's talk about protection. Sanders was playing behind one of the worst protection environments in football, and instead of adjusting, the coaching staff didn't meaningfully increase help. No consistent extra protectors, no expanded chip blocks.
They keep telling you Shedeur Sanders isn't the guy. They keep telling you the tape looks bad. They keep telling you the stats prove it. But what if the numbers they're showing you are missing the most important part? Because today, we're not talking about highlight throws, we're not talking about vibes, we're not talking about narratives. We're talking about context. And once you actually understand the context behind Shedeur Sanders' numbers, a very uncomfortable truth starts to show itself. Because the stats don't lie, but the way people frame them absolutely can. And that's why this conversation has the Browns fan base, the media, and even NFL insiders quietly backtracking right now. Let's talk about what the data really says about Shedeur Sanders. This all started when new analytics hit the timeline. Not hot takes, not opinion pieces. Raw football data. Data that showed something people weren't ready to admit. Shedeur Sanders was not given the same job as Dillon Gabriel, not even close. See, when people compare quarterbacks, they act like every pass attempt is created equal. It's not. Opportunity isn't just how many times you throw the ball. Opportunity is when you're allowed to throw it. Early downs, neutral situations, after successful plays. That's where quarterbacks build rhythm, that's where confidence is created. And according to the data, Dillon Gabriel was consistently trusted to throw early, when defenses still had to respect the run, when the full playbook was open, when mistakes didn't instantly end drives. Shedeur Sanders? He was sent out there after things broke down. Third and long, obvious passing situations, defenses already pinning their ears back. That's not the same job. That's not even the same evaluation. And yet, they were judged like they were. Let me ask you something right now. How many quarterbacks look great when they're only asked to throw when the defense already knows what's coming? Exactly. And this is where the story starts to change. Because when you look deeper, the numbers get even louder. On first down, the easiest down to throw, Dillon Gabriel threw far more often. On third and long, the hardest down to throw, Shedeur Sanders threw far more often. That's not development, that's damage control. And it didn't stop there. Shedeur was benched in a one-score, high-leverage situation.
This is why the barbershop is dangerous. Uncle Ben, 27. Ben, 27. Jason mentioned that concocting some stats to demonstrate how bad Shedeur was, how Shedeur played. The info G. Bush is using should be used to combat the Jason's coming stats next week. So are you saying that we're playing chess? Are you saying that this is a preemptive strike by G. Bush? Can't confirm or deny that. I'm just kidding. I just felt like we was in a numbers game. I just wanted to show numbers from, I didn't come up with the numbers. I'm not a stat guy. Like I said, I watched the film, but I just wanted to have some numbers just to give a well-rounded conversation. Now, let me just tell you this. We are cooking. We are cooking. So now that we understand, we moving along here. So those same numbers she probably brought up, you think Andrew Berry's not aware of those? You think he's not aware of some of those discrepancies? You think he's not aware of the fact that he was a four-string quarterback? And here's another.
Think about that. One score, game still alive, season on the line, and the leash snapped. What does that tell you? It tells you the margin for error was never the same. So when people say, well, Shedeur didn't capitalize, you have to ask, capitalize on what? And that's a question nobody wants to answer honestly. Now let's talk about protection, because this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. Shedeur Sanders was playing behind one of the worst protection environments in football. That's not opinion. That's data. And the craziest part? The coaching staff didn't adjust. No consistent extra protectors. No expanded chip blocks. No meaningful help. But Dillon Gabriel? He received significantly more built-in protection with the same offensive line. That's not a talent issue. That's a coaching decision. And if you know football, you know protection is a choice. The numbers show it clearly. Design help rate, Dillon Gabriel, 36%, Shedeur Sanders, 18%. That gap is massive. And it gets worse. When Shedeur Sanders was on the field, the Browns went empty more than almost anyone. 5 linemen. No tight ends. No backs staying in. That's not confidence. That's exposure. So let me ask you, what quarterback thrives in empty sets behind a struggling line? Because I'll wait. This is usually where the critics jump in and say, well, Shedeur just holds the ball too long. But again, the data says otherwise. Shedeur wasn't just under more pressure. The pressure came faster. We're talking pressure in under 2.5 seconds. That's before most route concepts even fully develop. That's not holding the ball, that's surviving chaos. And here's the part nobody talks about. Despite extreme pressure, Shedeur Sanders actually turned pressure into sacks less often. That means he was escaping, throwing the ball away, keeping plays alive. That's not poor processing. That's problem solving under fire. So why is that never part of the conversation? Now let's layer in one more detail, because context matters. Shedeur's number 1 receiver dropped nearly twice as many passes. That instantly shrinks your margin for error. And yet, the offense never compensated. No easier throws. No protection adjustments. No rhythm builders. Difficulty stayed high. Tolerance stayed low. And when quarterbacks are judged only by results, while coaches control the conditions, that difference matters more than people want to admit. So before we move on, let me ask you this. If you were Shedeur Sanders, thrown into 3rd and longs, behind weak protection, with minimal help, and a short leash, how good do you think your stats would look? Be honest. And here's where it all connects. Because once the numbers came out, something strange happened. The media started changing the questions. They kept trying to push a story. They wanted Shedeur Sanders to say something reckless. They wanted him emotional. They wanted him sloppy. They wanted a headline that said he got people fired. And he never gave it to them. Not once did Shedeur Sanders throw Kevin Stefanski under the bus. Not once did he play that game. In fact, he defended his coach. That matters. Because if he had slipped, if he had lost his cool, that would have been the excuse. He's the problem. He's the reason. He's got to go. But now they just say they don't like him. And that tells you everything. Before we continue, let me hit you with this. Do you think front offices don't see this data? Do you think Andrew Berry isn't aware of these discrepancies? Because that's where this story is headed next. And trust me, the 2026 conversation has already started. So let me ask you right now. Do you believe Shedeur Sanders was actually evaluated fairly? Or do you think the conditions were designed for someone else to succeed? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because we're just getting started. Now this is where things get really interesting. Because once you get past the numbers, once you get past the noise, once you get past the media narratives, you start listening to what the people in charge are actually saying. And if you were paying attention, Andrew Berry told you everything, without ever saying Shedeur Sanders' name directly. He said quarterback evaluation is one part, and quarterback development is the other. Evaluation, development. Say it again. Evaluation, development. Because when you repeat something 3 times, it's usually intentional. And here's the uncomfortable truth the Browns don't want to say out loud. They missed on the evaluation, and they failed at the development. Let's start with evaluation. Dillon Gabriel was the pick, top 100 investment that hand-selected by Kevin Stefanski's staff. They told you he had all the traits: fast processor, bigger frame, safe decision maker. And then you saw him play, and it didn't match. That matters. Because when you commit to an evaluation, everything else follows. The reps, the protection, the patience. And when that evaluation starts cracking, somebody else has to absorb the pressure. That somebody was Shedeur Sanders. Now let's talk about development, because this part gets glossed over way too often. Shedeur Sanders was thrown into chaos. Limited practice reps, minimal protection help. A first-time play caller at no consistent run game support. And still, he showed flashes. He threw for over 365 yards in a situation where he wasn't even supposed to be ready. That's not luck. That's ability. But development isn't about flashes. Development is about structure. Easy throws, confidence builders, protection schemes that don't get your quarterback killed. And Shedeur didn't get that. Instead, he got empty sets. Third and long situations, and a playbook that felt tighter every week. So when people say, well, he didn't develop fast enough, you have to ask, develop into what? Because development doesn't happen in survival mode. And this is where the Baker Mayfield comparison matters. Because we've seen this movie before. Baker Mayfield once publicly called out Kevin Stefanski for not giving him protection help against TJ Watt. And what happened? He was scapegoated, injured, left out there too long, then blamed when it fell apart. Sound familiar? The difference is, Shedeur Sanders didn't take the bait. When the media pushed him, he stayed composed. When they tried to get him emotional, he shut it down. When they wanted him to blame the staff, he refused. And that maturity matters more than people realize. Because in today's NFL, leadership isn't just what happens on Sunday. It's how you handle pressure when everyone's watching. Now let's move into the future, because this is where the conversation shifts. Andrew Berry made it clear. Priority number one is finding a leader for the organization. Not a savior, not a headline. A leader. And when he talked about the path forward, notice the order. Internal options first, external veterans second, draft third. That order wasn't accidental. Internal development means somebody in the building still matters. And whether people like it or not, Shedeur Sanders is part of that conversation. So when you hear fans say, they're clearing the whole quarterback room, understand something. That's not reality. That's emotion. NFL teams don't erase young quarterbacks they invested reps, time, and patience into, unless the tape is hopeless. And the tape on Shedeur Sanders? It's incomplete, not broken. Now let me ask you another question. If Shedeur Sanders was truly as bad as some people claim, why is the conversation still alive? Why are analytics surfacing now? Why are insiders suddenly careful with their words? Why is the front office emphasizing development? Because the league sees what the surface stats hide. They see a quarterback who survived chaos. They see problem solving under pressure. They see leadership without ego. And that matters. Here's another thing nobody wants to say out loud. The narrative around Shedeur Sanders shifted the moment Kevin Stefanski was fired. Before that, the story was simple. Rookie QB struggles. Growing pains. Learning curve. After that, suddenly he was the reason. And that's unfair. Because no rookie quarterback fires a head coach by himself. Systems fail, evaluations miss, development breaks down. And when all of that happens at once, somebody becomes the face of the failure. Shedeur Sanders just happened to be standing there. So now the question becomes, what happens next? 2026 isn't just a year, but it's a decision point. Do the Browns commit to actual development? Do they build an offense that helps a young quarterback breathe? Do they protect the pocket and simplify reads? Or do they repeat history? Because if they do it right, Shedeur Sanders has already shown he can handle pressure most quarterbacks crumble under. And if they don't? Well, we've seen how that story ends too. Before we wrap this up, let me ask you one last thing. If you strip away the narratives, if you strip away the box scores, if you actually look at the context, do you really believe Shedeur Sanders failed? Or do you think he was asked to survive something that wasn't built for him? Let me know in the comments, because this conversation isn't going away. And listen, if you want honest NFL breakdowns, real context, and no manufactured outrage, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Gridiron Insights, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the numbers don't lie. And now, neither does the truth.